Sometimes love after 40 is less about butterflies and more about boundaries. Welcome back to Microspace. Last week in episode 4, we talked about healing over hustles. We talked about how your body isn't betraying you, it's actually communicating with you. About learning to start pushing and start listening. Today, we extended that same grace, but this time to your heart. Because love lasts and letting go after 40 is less about chasing what was and more about healing what still hurts. It's not about who left, but what you've learned. So let's talk about what it really means to rediscover yourself. When love changes shape, when endings become invitations, and when you realize that closure isn't something you get, it's something you give yourself. So I want to tell you about someone I know. Let's call her Shade. She got married young, full of plans, promises, and the kind of love that feels endless when you're in your 20s. And as life evolved, so did she. And the version of her that existed at 40 wasn't the same one who said, I do, at 24. The marriage didn't end with a fight. It ended with a silence. Two good people who had grown in different directions, holding on out of memory, not connection. When the divorce papers came, it wasn't just the marriage just ended. It was her identity. For months, Shade told me, she kept busy, projects, travel, gym, distractions. She was healing on the surface while avoiding the deeper one, the loss of who she used to be. Then one day, sitting alone with a cup of coffee, she realized I'd been waiting for someone to choose me again. When the truth is, I never stopped needing to choose myself. And that was a reset. Not the papers, not the therapy, not the next relationship, but the moment she started trusting on her reflection again. Heartbreak in midlife hits differently because by now you built a world, a home, a routine, maybe even a reputation around someone else's presence. When that's gone, the silence can feel heavy. But silence isn't punishment. It's a space to breathe again, space to grieve, and a space to grow. You're not starting over from zero. You're starting again from wisdom. There's a space that comes from no longer needing to prove that you're lovable because you already are. Healing after heartbreak is less about forgetting the person and more about forgiving yourself for all the ways you've tried to hold something that wasn't no longer holding you. Rediscovery doesn't happen in a rush. It happens in a moment. The first solo meal that doesn't feel lonely. The first night to sleep peacefully in your head, in your bed. The first laugh that isn't tied to memory, but to now. That's rediscovery. When you remember you were whole long before anyone came along, you start to reconnect with your rhythms, your favorite songs, your quiet mornings, your unfiltered laughter. That's not selfishness. That's self-trust, rebuilding itself, piece by piece. Dating after 40 is an entirely different story. It's no longer about who really looks best in pictures. It's about how you feel safest in silence. It's not just about perfection. It's about peace. You're no longer chasing chemistry. You're checking for characters. You stop looking for someone to complete you because you already realized you were never incomplete. You've learned that butterflies are nice, but boundaries are better. Because love after 40 is not about getting lost on someone. It's actually about finding someone you can stay found with. The hardest part about heartbreak isn't losing someone. It's losing trust in yourself. You start questioning your judgment, your words, your intuition. But healing begins the moment you start believing that you can make good choices again. You may not control who leaves, but you always control how you rise. That's self-trust, the quiet confidence that no matter what happens next, you will handle it with grace. Because the version of you that survived heartbreaks is stronger than the version that fell in love. Every great love teaches you something. Some love teaches you patience. Some teaches you forgiveness. Some even teach you that forever isn't about time. It's about impact. But all love, even the ones that end, remind you that you're capable of connection, growth, and courage. Love isn't meant to complete your life. It's meant to expand it. And sometimes expansion looks like letting go. Back to the story of Sade. Months after her divorce, Sade met someone new. She wasn't in a rush, not even searching, but in a season of her peace. It wasn't the loudest person in the room. He was the calmest. He didn't even try to fix Shadi. He respected her. And she realized that love after heartbreak isn't meant to erase the past. It's meant to honor what she's taught, what he has actually taught you. Sometimes you meet someone who doesn't promise to complete the story, but to read it with care. Now, this week, I want you to take inventory, not of your relationship, but of your heart, and ask yourself this. What have I learned about love that I no longer believe? What boundaries protect my peace? And what part of me am I finally ready to trust again? That's your love reset. Not a goodbye, not a beginning, but your becoming. You know, sometimes love after 40 isn't fireworks. It's freedom. It's learning that ending doesn't really mean you failed. It means you felt. And if you felt deeply, you've lived fully. So whether you're healing, rediscovering, or simply learning to breathe again, know this. You haven't lost a chance at love. You've gained your chances at truth. This is Michael Speaks, reminding you that letting go isn't the end of love. It is the beginning of self-love. See you next week for another chapter of this same season, Live After 40.